After federal investigators are gearing up for a wider crackdown on insider trading, people familiar with the matter telling Bloomberg. The investigation targets securities professionals, including hedge fund managers, lawyers, and other Wall Street professionals. Our next guest is a former SEC enforcement lawyer, and his firm now represents hundreds of hedge funds. Ron Geffner is a partner at law firm Sadis Goldberg. He joins us right here in New York. So who else are they? I mean, they're targeting everybody.
How do you not? You have somebody on the marketing side. You have people on the inside of companies. You have inside of consulting firms. So the chain involves more than just a hedge fund. The hedge fund is really the headline grabber, but the reality is it's the same old story. Love, sex, and rock and roll. It's insider trading.
So let me ask you, Ron, when all is said and done, it's going to be a lot more. Today we said 10 more potential arrests here involved with insider trading. I mean, what do you think the number is going to eventually amount to?
I couldn't begin to tell you. Nobody
Yeah, but so many of your clients are hedge funds. I mean,
let's look at it as asset management. Think of it. There are stockbrokers, there are investment advisors. There's really anybody tied to the buying or selling of securities wants an edge. They want that inside track, knowing which horse is going to win the race. So it's pretty open as to how many people might get brought into this because there are multiple issuers, and it may not even have anything specifically to do with Raj or Gallion.
Right.
It may very well have to do with the insiders because it's like somebody who's going to provide information to one person. What would stop them from providing it to 4 or 5 others? And so if I were the SEC or the FBI, I'm going to look at all the trading in that stock during that time frame and see how many people have the insiders' phone numbers, how many people do they interact with, because if one person has loose lips, he's bound or she's bound to continue that behavior.
How many people who dealt with Raj or any of the funds mentioned in this case are calling you, are calling lawyers right now? I mean, how worried are people in the hedge fund industry that are close to this? Because wiretaps, and if you talk to these guys on the phone, who knows what you're saying, right?
Wiretaps is a whole new chapter in the book. Now, that being said, we've actually worked in cases where we've had people involved in a case wearing a wire on their body. So as much as I read, and I didn't think about it earlier today, as I've read the news and people suggesting this is the first wiretap, that's not too far of an extension away from that issue. It raises listen, it's just like if you have a police officer driving behind you. I had that happen to me this weekend. You get nervous no matter what speed limit you're doing. Imagine anybody you've called over the weekend had their phones tapped for 2 years. You're going to worry, what did I communicate about my spouse, about my friend, about my job, about anything else in the world? It's Big Brother's watching.
You said in the break before we came on that you said you were kind of interested to hear if whether or not lawyers were involved.
Sure.
And that would obviously be a whole other avenue kind of being explored here.
Well, it's not that it's a whole other avenue. Lawyers have also been prosecuted, as have journalists. There's a Business Week case that came out years and years ago. So it's open to everybody. But you would think the more educated people who sit there and say, sooner or later, this winds up blowing in my face. Why would I take the risk and lose my career and lose my reputation or integrity in the marketplace for what might be a nominal gain for right now?
For money. That's why they do it, right? You know what? I was thinking $20 million is the initial case, right? That's got to be the tip of the iceberg because $20 million is nothing in the hedge fund industry.
You know, it depends on who you're talking about. Not every hedge fund manager drives a Ferrari. I know that's the bias or the belief. $20 million is a lot of money no matter whatever you make. It's still a lot of money. Now, some people were suggesting, well, is the SEC even doing the right thing, not focusing on the future Madoff? Because 20 million versus however many billion, how do you balance out your limited capacity or ability to prosecute cases? But I would say this is also of equal importance because one of the wonderful things about the United States is we have a very large middle class. That middle class buys and sells securities, invests in mutual funds. And why do they do it? Because they feel that it's an equal playing field. And we all have a chance at bat. We all have a chance to hit a home run. If all of a sudden you find out that all your competitors are playing with a loaded bat, that changes the dynamic in your perception of wanting to interact in the market.
You know, you mentioned the SEC briefly before. I mean, how much does the Gallion case kind of boost the SEC here? They've come under so much criticism, and most would say, understandably so, over the last year and a half or so during the financial crisis. So how much does it kind of boost the case for the SEC right now?
Well, I think it's a function of who the audience is. If you already had a bias against the SEC, I think they're in a hole that no matter what they do for those people, they can't dig out. But for hopefully the rest of the people in the country who approach us with an open mind, it helps. If you have a high-profile case with a high-profile person, and I don't know that Raj is guilty or that Gallion's guilty. We don't have all of the information available, so I don't want any of my answers to you to suggest otherwise, but if they go and prosecute a case with somebody of that background and power, it gives you the sense that there's nobody above the law, and the SEC is doing the job for which our taxpayer dollars are going towards.
At the same time, Ron, every time we have a big deal and you see shares go up 10, 15, 25% after the deal, you can always look back and see a spike in the options price. You can always look back and see that somebody was doing a lot of buying or selling depending on the deal, right? Insider trading just happens.
It happens, and as long as people make a living or make money from buying or selling securities, it will continue. No matter what the laws are that are put on the books, it's going to continue. And there are no new laws proposed, I think, would change it, and I don't think we really need to. It's just really we need more cops on the beat. SEC needs better financing, and quite frankly, people have to realize the SEC is not going to be everywhere at all times.
Right. All right, hey, Ron, thanks so much for joining us.
Ron
Geffner
Thank
from
you.
Sadis and Goldberg. Now,